Hello, brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The deepest secrets are never spoken. They're leaked through behavior. It's a strange paradox. Studies show that over 70% of human communication is nonverbal, yet most people remain blind to what's really being said when no words are spoken. And when it comes to a woman falling for a Sigma male, the man who thrives outside the usual hierarchy, her feelings don't come out in grand confessions or cheesy gestures. No, they slip out sideways in patterns she doesn't even notice she's broadcasting. The truth is, Sigma males trigger a rare kind of love response in women. It's not loud, it's not public. It's secretive, almost encrypted. And the signs are so subtle that if you blink, you'll miss them. But once you learn to see them, it's like putting on night vision goggles in a dark room. You'll never unsee the truth again. So buckle up, because today we're not talking about obvious things like long stares or constant texts. We're diving into the hidden signals, the secret behaviors a woman can't fake when she's falling for a Sigma male. And fair warning, once you learn these, you might just laugh at how obvious people become. It's like watching someone try to hide a sneeze, you know it's coming. Number 1, she starts guarding his reputation subconsciously. When a woman is secretly in love with a Sigma male, one of the clearest giveaways is how she starts guarding his reputation without even realizing she's doing it. It's not something she consciously decides. It leaks out in the way she reacts when others speak about him. If someone throws a casual insult, she bristles. If a person questions his character, she jumps in to defend him with an intensity that surprises even her. And if someone tries to reduce him to just another guy, she finds a way to remind everyone that he's different. It's almost as if she's protecting a part of herself, because deep down, his image has become tied to her emotions. What makes this behavior stand out is how disproportionate it can be. She may not defend her coworkers, friends, or even family with the same level of passion. But with him, her reflex is immediate and protective. It's not about being logical either. She may not even know why she feels the need to shield him so strongly. The truth is, her subconscious has already decided that his value in her life is too precious to let others tarnish, even with words. This protective streak shows up in small ways too. If someone misunderstands his quietness, she'll quickly clarify, he's just private, not rude. If someone doubts his choices, she'll counter with reasons why he does what he does. She may even find herself defending him in conversations where he isn't even present. It's not that she's trying to convince the world, it's that she's trying to preserve the way she sees him, untainted by outside noise. This is the hidden beauty and the hidden danger of falling for a Sigma male. Because he doesn't care about defending his reputation. He lets people think whatever they want. But she can't sit back and watch. Her love quietly transforms her into his unofficial bodyguard, the one who ensures his image remains untouchable. And the more she does it, the more obvious it becomes to anyone paying attention. When a woman fiercely protects a man's name without him asking for it, it's never just respect. It's love, trying and failing to stay secret. Number 2, she mirrors his withdrawals, then breaks first. When a Sigma male withdraws, most people either chase him immediately or give up entirely. But when a woman is in love with him, her response is far more complicated. At first, she mirrors his distance, almost like she's trying to prove that she's just as independent, just as untouchable. She tells herself she won't be the one to fold. She might even feel a rush of pride in showing him that she too can vanish into her own world without flinching. But the act never lasts. His silence doesn't just feel like space, it feels like a puzzle, and puzzles gnaw at her. She starts to wonder what he's thinking, whether he notices her absence, whether he's even affected by it at all. This thought cycle slowly eats away at her resolve until she slips. Maybe it's a late-night text that doesn't really need to be sent, or a casual comment on something he posted, or an excuse to ask a meaningless question just to hear back from him. The initiation is small, but it's a crack in the armor she built around herself. This is one of the strongest hidden tells that her feelings for him are real. With other men, her silence is permanent. She can walk away without a second thought because her pride wins. With him, she pretends she can play the same game, but the game becomes unbearable. His ability to disappear into himself forces her to reveal the truth. She wants the connection more than she wants to protect her ego. That's where the Sigma male's power lies. He doesn't chase. He doesn't break the silence first. He simply lets the quiet stretch until her need to reconnect outweighs her need to appear strong. And when she's the one who breaks first, it's not just contact. It's confession without words. Because in love, her restraint collapses. She'll bend, not because she's weak, but because he's the only man whose absence feels heavier than her pride. Number 3, she reorganizes her social mask around him. With most men, a woman knows exactly which mask to wear. She can slip into the sweet version when she wants to appear approachable, the smart version when she wants to impress, or the seductive version when she wants control. These masks aren't fake, they're carefully curated fragments of her personality, deployed like tools depending on the situation. But when she's in love with a Sigma male, those masks start to crumble in ways she can't control. It's not because he demands authenticity or calls her out. He doesn't need to. His presence alone has a way of dismantling pretenses. She can feel that he isn't fooled by performance, that he doesn't buy into surface-level charm. Instead of feeding her ego like other men, he quietly observes, letting her know without saying a word that he sees past the layers. That awareness unnerves her and excites her at the same time. It forces her to drop the masks, not out of weakness, but out of an instinct to align herself with his wavelength. Slowly, she edits her identity around him. The exaggerated sweetness softens into genuine warmth. The calculated intelligence turns into honest conversation. Even her playful flirtation shifts. Less performance, more vulnerability. It's not something she plans, it's an unconscious recalibration. She knows he won't fall for a version of her that's manufactured. So she trims away the exaggerations until what's left is raw and unpolished. And that's the secret. Her behavior doesn't just change because she likes him. It changes because she senses she can't outperform him. She can only be real. For a woman who's used to hiding behind crafted roles, this is both terrifying and liberating. The Sigma male becomes the one man who doesn't just see her, but also strips away everything she hides behind. And her willingness to reorganize her entire social mask around him is not only a sign of love, it's proof that she recognizes his perception is sharper than her pretense. Number 4, she studies his rhythms like a code. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, one of the most telling signs is how she begins to study his rhythms like there's some kind of secret code. It's not just about paying attention to him, it's about trying to decode him. She notices the small things most people overlook, how long he takes to reply, the hours he tends to be active, the way his moods shift with no obvious trigger. She even starts cataloging his little rituals, like when he disappears for hours or the strange order in which he does things. This isn't about obsession in a creepy way, it's about her subconscious trying to solve the mystery that surrounds him. With other men, she doesn't bother. Their patterns are predictable, their behaviors easy to anticipate, and their routines rarely hold any intrigue. But with him, it's different. His unpredictability fuels her curiosity. The more she fails to pin him down, the more invested she becomes in trying. And here's the irony, half the time, there isn't a pattern. Sigma males aren't playing games, they simply move on their own rhythm, answering when they feel like it, disappearing when they need space, resurfacing when it suits them. To most people, this would feel frustrating or even off-putting, but when she's in love, it becomes addictive. Every silence becomes a clue, every late response a puzzle piece, every habit a code waiting to be cracked. The real giveaway is how much mental energy she invests in this without realizing. She'll replay small interactions in her head, looking for meaning that probably isn't there. She'll notice the tiniest shifts in his behavior, things nobody else would even think twice about. And while she may frame it as just being observant, the truth is that she's hooked. His unpredictability pulls her in deeper because it gives her something no one else does. The constant sense that there's more to discover. When a woman studies a man's life like it's a code, she's not just interested, she's invested. And with a Sigma male, that investment is almost impossible to walk away from, because no matter how much she analyzes, he always stays one step beyond full comprehension. That's what keeps her coming back. Number 5, her jealousy shows in subtle sabotage. When a woman is in love with a Sigma male, her jealousy doesn't come out in dramatic scenes or open declarations. Instead, it leaks through in quiet acts of sabotage so subtle most people wouldn't even notice. She won't call out other women directly or stake her claim in public. That would expose too much vulnerability. Instead, she plants invisible markers, small signals that let others know he's not entirely available, even if she hasn't admitted it to herself yet. It might be the way she casually dismisses a compliment another woman gives him, downplaying it with a quick remark that shifts the energy, or the way she rolls her eyes at a comment someone makes about him, as though she knows something deeper they don't. Sometimes it's even quieter. She positions herself in conversations so others feel slightly excluded, or she interrupts in just the right places to remind everyone she has a connection to him they can't touch. None of it is loud, but it's effective. The fascinating part is that she doesn't always realize she's doing it. These small acts are instinctive, born out of the tension between her pride and her desire. She doesn't want to openly chase him, but she also doesn't want other women thinking he's free to be claimed. So she manages the space around him with surgical precision, never obvious, never desperate, but always protective. What makes this especially revealing is that she doesn't behave this way with men she's only casually interested in. With them, she can afford to be indifferent. But with a Sigma, her jealousy creeps out sideways because he attracts attention without even trying. Other women notice him, and that triggers a quiet battle she feels compelled to fight, even if it's only through tiny digs and dismissals. These micro-sabotages aren't just signs of attraction, they're signs of emotional investment. They prove she's crossed the line from interest into attachment, and the more she tries to hide it, the clearer it becomes to anyone who knows how to watch. With a Sigma male, her jealousy doesn't scream, it whispers, and those whispers are often louder than words. Number 6, she imitates his minimalism. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, one of the most telling shifts in her behavior is how she unconsciously starts imitating his minimalism. It's not about copying him in a surface-level way, but about adjusting her own patterns to match the tone he sets. If he doesn't overshare, she suddenly becomes more reserved. If he values depth over noise, she cuts back on small talk. Without realizing it, she reshapes her presence to align with his philosophy of less is more. This is striking because most women are used to filling space through conversation, energy, or gestures. With men who crave attention, she can be expressive, dramatic, even excessive, and it works. But a Sigma male doesn't reward noise. His silence, his economy of words, and his disinterest in shallow chatter create an atmosphere where excess feels out of place. So she trims herself down, not because he asks her to, but because she senses that the usual tricks won't work. And here's the fascinating part. She doesn't feel like she's losing anything by doing this. In fact, she feels sharper, more intentional, even more interesting when she cuts the fluff. His presence reprograms the way she communicates, drawing out a version of herself that's quieter but more authentic. It's as if his minimalism strips away the filler in her personality, leaving only the core. This is a hidden sign of love because she doesn't adapt like this for just anyone. With men she doesn't truly value, she has no problem overwhelming them with chatter or exaggerations. But with him, she instinctively calibrates, wanting to meet him where he is. It's less about trying to impress and more about wanting to be in sync with him, to exist on the same frequency. And without ever announcing it, her behavior begins to mirror his. The oversharing stops. The shallow details fade. She becomes more selective with her words and actions. It's not imitation in the cheap sense, it's alignment. And the deeper she falls for him, the more she reflects his philosophy back at him, almost like a silent confession of love hidden inside her restraint. Number 7, she breaks her own rules of romance. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, one of the clearest giveaways is how she quietly breaks the very rules she once swore by in love. Every woman has her personal standards, the boundaries she proudly declares to friends, the non-negotiables she uses to protect her pride. She might say she'll never chase a man, never confess her feelings first, never compromise her routines, never lower her guard. These rules make her feel safe and in control. But when she's drawn to a Sigma, those rules begin to crack. It doesn't happen in a dramatic all-at-once collapse. It's more subtle. Maybe she finds herself reaching out first, even though she once bragged she'd never do it. Maybe she adjusts her schedule to match his availability, even if it means giving up something she said she'd never sacrifice for a man. Or maybe she catches herself revealing feelings before he does, a move she swore was beneath her. Each small break chips away at the armor she thought was unshakable. What makes this so powerful is that the Sigma male never asks her to bend. He doesn't negotiate, persuade, or pressure her. His strength lies in his refusal to play the usual games. He's self-contained, detached from the validation chase, and uninterested in chasing anyone's approval. That's what disarms her. The very qualities that should frustrate her end up pulling her closer. forcing her to cross the lines she drew for herself. And here's the truth. She doesn't resent it. On the contrary, it feels almost natural. For other men, bending her rules feels like weakness, but with him, it feels like the only way to keep him within reach. Love for a Sigma doesn't demand sacrifice, it demands self-recalibration, and in breaking those rules, she's really admitting that what she feels for him outweighs her need to protect her ego. That's why this sign is so telling. The moment a woman begins bending the principles she once proudly lived by, not because she was pressured, but because she wants to, it reveals that she isn't just interested, she's invested. And for a Sigma male, that's the kind of silent confession louder than words. Number 8. She becomes uncomfortable with how much he occupies her mental space. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, one of the most revealing signs is how much space he starts to take up in her mind and how uncomfortable that actually makes her. With other men, she can turn the switch off. If things don't work, she distracts herself with work, friends, or hobbies and moves on. But with him, it's different. His presence lingers long after he's gone. Even in silence, he echoes. She finds herself replaying conversations, analyzing small details, and wondering what he's doing when she hasn't heard from him. The strangest part is that she doesn't want this loss of control. She may even fight it. She tells herself she's busy, that she won't think about him, that she won't be one of those women who gets caught up. Yet no matter how much she tries, he creeps back in. She's working and suddenly remembers a look he gave her. She's with friends and catches herself zoning out, lost in thoughts of him. The more she tries to resist, the more persistent the thoughts become, like a song stuck in her head that refuses to fade. This is where her discomfort lies, not in the thoughts themselves, but in the fact that she can't stop them. Sigma males aren't like the men she can easily decode and dismiss. Their mystery hooks her, their silence provokes her, and their unpredictability keeps her mind reaching for answers that never come. And because she can't fully figure him out, her brain keeps looping back, searching for closure that doesn't exist. The more space he takes up in her thoughts, the clearer it becomes that this isn't casual interest. It's a deeper pull, one that bypasses logic and control. She may not say a word about it, but her distractedness, her absent-minded smiles, her restless curiosity, all betray the truth. Love for a Sigma doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up as quiet obsession, the kind she tries to hide but can't escape. When she becomes uncomfortable with how much he invades her mental space, it's not just attraction anymore. It's the silent proof that he's carved out a place in her mind she can't reclaim, no matter how hard she tries. Number 9, she gets addicted to the uncertainty he creates. Most women crave stability in love. They want clear signals, defined roles, and predictable behaviors that make them feel secure. But with a Sigma male, the opposite happens. His very unpredictability, the way he refuses to broadcast his intentions, the way he vanishes into his own world without explanation, the way his presence can feel both magnetic and distant, creates a tension she can't resist. What should frustrate her instead becomes the fuel that keeps her hooked. She starts to crave the unknown. Will he call today, or will he disappear into silence? Is that smirk a sign of affection, or is he just being polite? Does he even notice her as much as she notices him? These unanswered questions stir up an emotional cocktail of excitement, anxiety, and anticipation. And while part of her may feel uneasy, another part thrives on it. The uncertainty electrifies her in a way certainty never could. This is where the trap lies. She begins mistaking the adrenaline rush of unpredictability for love itself. The anticipation of what he might do next becomes as intoxicating as his presence. Every small gesture, a rare compliment, an unexpected message, the way he suddenly shows up after days of silence, hits her with more impact than constant attention ever would. His scarcity makes every drop of interaction feel like gold. The truth is, Sigma males don't create this uncertainty on purpose. They live by their own rhythm, detached from the need to reassure or explain themselves. But that very detachment unsettles her in the most irresistible way. Unlike other men, he doesn't try to win her over with consistency or promises. He simply exists on his own terms, and she's left chasing the puzzle he becomes. Over time, the cycle tightens its grip. The highs feel euphoric, the lows feel unbearable, and she realizes she's thinking about him far more than she intended. The unpredictability that should drive her away instead keeps her bound to him. That constant state of not knowing becomes addictive, and in that addiction lies the truth. She's no longer just interested, she's consumed. Number 10. She voluntarily shrinks her ego in his presence. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, one of the most striking changes in her behavior is how her ego seems to shrink around him. With other men, especially dominant alpha types, she may feel the need to assert herself, to prove she's just as powerful, just as untouchable. The push and pull of ego often becomes part of the dynamic. But with a Sigma, that energy dissolves. His quiet confidence doesn't challenge her directly, yet it disarms her completely. She notices that his self-assurance doesn't come from showing off, competing, or trying to outshine anyone. It's steady, unshakable, and free from the need for validation. In his presence, her usual defenses suddenly feel unnecessary, even childish. That witty sarcasm she uses to test other men, it falls flat. The prideful stances she takes to protect herself, they feel small against his calm detachment. His energy doesn't provoke her to fight, it provokes her to soften. This softening isn't weakness, it's instinct. Something in her recognizes that trying to dominate him is pointless, not because he overpowers her, but because he's operating on an entirely different plane. Competing for control with a man who doesn't even care about control feels absurd. So instead of posturing, she eases into vulnerability. Instead of proving herself, she allows herself to simply be. That shift is the hidden confession. For a woman who is used to guarding her pride, shrinking her ego is not natural. It's an unspoken surrender that only happens when she feels both safe and deeply drawn to someone. Around a Sigma, she realizes she doesn't need to win. His presence removes the battle entirely, and in that surrender, her feelings become undeniable. What makes this sign so powerful is its subtlety. She won't say, "I let my guard down for him." She won't admit she feels humbled in his presence. But you'll see it in her tone, in the way her voice softens, in how she stops trying to one-up him. When a woman voluntarily lets her ego step aside, not because she's defeated, but because she chooses to, it's one of the clearest proofs that she's in love. And with a Sigma male, it's almost inevitable. Number 11. She creates excuses to orbit him without admitting it. When a woman is in love with a Sigma male, one of the clearest but least admitted signs is how she starts creating excuses to orbit him. She'll never openly admit she's doing it, and on the surface it all looks like coincidence. But when you look closely, the pattern becomes obvious. She always seems to just happen to be where he is. She crosses paths with him in ways that are too perfectly timed to be random. She invents reasons to interact, little pretexts that mask her real motive, staying close. It could be something as simple as showing up at an event she knows he'll attend, or suddenly developing an interest in a hobby he's into. Maybe she needs his opinion on something trivial, or asks for help she could easily find elsewhere. These aren't acts of desperation. They're quiet strategies to bridge the distance without having to confess her feelings outright. On the surface, it's casual. Underneath, it's calculated. What makes this behavior so revealing is how much effort goes into disguising it. She can't let it look like she's chasing, because that would expose her vulnerability. So she cloaks her moves in coincidence, letting herself believe she's being subtle. But the truth is, her repeated presence isn't accidental. It's a gravitational pull she can't resist. He becomes the invisible center of her orbit, and she keeps circling, drawn in whether she likes it or not. Unlike with other men, she doesn't create this kind of proximity unless she's deeply invested. With casual interest, she stays detached, keeping her pride intact. But with a Sigma, her emotions override her pride. The risk of being near him, even without acknowledgement, feels more rewarding than the safety of distance. This is love at its most hidden form, not in declarations or confessions, but in logistics and timing. She's not chasing him in the traditional sense. She's positioning herself in his world piece by piece while pretending it's chance. And the more she does it, the clearer the truth becomes. Her heart is already orbiting him long before her words ever will. Number 12, she learns his silences carry more weight than other men's words. When a woman falls for a Sigma male, his silence stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like a message. With most men, a lack of response comes across as neglect or disinterest. But with him, she doesn't read it that way. Instead, every pause, every gap, every moment he withholds words becomes something she tries to interpret. His silence feels loaded, as if it carries meaning she just hasn't cracked yet. This is where the shift happens. She begins treating his silences as data. A delayed reply isn't brushed off, it becomes a puzzle. His quiet stare isn't dismissed. It's analyzed. Even when he walks away without explanation, her mind starts turning it over, searching for hidden clues about what he's feeling. She convinces herself there's depth behind the quiet, that every silence is intentional, even when it isn't. And the more she leans into this, the more obsessed she becomes with the spaces between his words. Part of what fuels this is the contrast. Other men fill silence with noise. They over-explain, overshare, overcompensate. But the Sigma male doesn't. He doesn't rush to fill the gaps, and that restraint makes him stand out. His refusal to chase validation with words gives his silence more gravity than another man's declarations ever could, and she feels it. His lack of speech doesn't push her away, it pulls her in deeper because she senses something hidden behind it. Over time, those silences begin to haunt her more than words ever could. They make her question, wonder, anticipate. They force her into a constant state of analysis, trying to unlock a code that can't really be solved. And this is the hook. She mistakes the tension of not knowing for intimacy itself. When a woman starts treating a man's silence as meaningful instead of meaningless, it's a sign her heart is already captured. With a Sigma male, it's not what he says that binds her, it's what he doesn't say. And the longer she lingers in those gaps, the more inescapable her attachment becomes. At the end of it all, the signs of a woman in love with a Sigma male are rarely loud or obvious. They hide in the cracks of her behavior, in the contradictions she swore she'd never allow, in the subtle sacrifices she makes without ever saying a word. It's not the grand gestures or rehearsed declarations that give her away. It's the way she reshapes her routines, the way she bends her ego, the way his silence becomes louder to her than another man's promises. A Sigma doesn't demand love, and that's exactly why his presence rewires her so deeply. She finds herself orbiting him, decoding him, surrendering to him without realizing it's happening. And perhaps the most revealing truth of all is this. She doesn't fall in love with him because he asks her to. She falls in love with him because she can't help but be pulled into his gravity. That's the quiet power of the Sigma male. He doesn't chase, he doesn't plead, he doesn't perform. Yet without lifting a finger, he inspires a kind of devotion most men spend their entire lives trying and failing to earn. If you found these insights eye-opening, don't just keep them to yourself. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, drop a comment and share this with someone who needs to see it. Because what we just uncovered isn't surface level, it's the hidden language of love that most people never recognize until it's too late.